Hello, welcome to the Entrepreneurs Network. I'm Rick Anthony. For the 14 years or so that I've been presiding over the Entrepreneurs Network, which is a venue for early stage companies and angel investors, we meet 5 times a year and tee up 4 early stage companies at every meeting. During those 14 years, I've seen, as you might imagine, just about everything that an early stage inventor or entrepreneur might come up with. I thought I'd seen everything until I met Tom Giacoponello. I've been rehearsing that last name to make sure I got it right. At any rate, I met Tom and his invention, for which he has a great passion, which I now understand. I understand the reasons. We'll get into that. Now, Tom, welcome to the Entrepreneurs Network. Delighted you could be here. I meant it when I said, at first I thought this is an interesting oddity, I thought, because again, it was so different from everything else I've seen, whether it's B2C, B2B. But then as we talked, and I started getting feedback from other people who have seen your invention and have come to appreciate its value. And then, as I told you, as a result of a cruise my wife and I took, and of course it was a transatlantic air as well, I had an even keener appreciation because now I was paying attention to lifesaver devices, jackets, and so on. The drill we had to go through twice on board ship. Obviously the information that the attendant gives on a long flight or a short flight. So as a result of all of that, I have a keener appreciation of what you have, the value it has, and as importantly, your passion for it. Further, as the grandfather of 15, we all know how grandparents feel about their grandkids. Again, a keener appreciation of the value, the life-saving value of what you've come up with. But now let's hear about your journey. As we always do, what's your background, where are you from, what have you done up to now, and how did you come up with this idea?
Well, I'm from New York originally.
Oh, that's too bad.
And don't listen to that.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you know, New Yorkers and Philadelphians have a great deal in common, and that's a great deal of passion about what they do.
Yes.
And so I came here from New York. I'm Jesuit educated, high school and college, and
the Bronx, right?
Well, I went to high school in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn,
yeah, the same school that Joe Paterno and a lot of other all boys Jesuit schools turned out. And then Fordham in the Bronx. And then I came to Pennsylvania after living in Manhattan for a while and got my master's at Penn. So I sold insurance for 15 years in New York, came down here and was a headhunter, an executive recruiter for about 30 years. But my closest friend from college was an avid boater. And he had his boat docked in New Rochelle. He lived at a house at the marina. And just a brilliant guy. I'm sure you've met people that they're just so creative.
Yes.
So we would go out on Long Island Sound and tie up boats. A lot of fun, a lot of partying. But people would bring their kids, and they would pass a baby from one boat to the other. And it just, at one moment, I just looked at Peter and I said, Peter, why don't you invent something? Because if they drop that baby in the water, it's over.
Yes.
And he did. He got an old-fashioned car seat, stripped it down, and called the Coast Guard, and they said, no, no, no. You're toying with something we really need. We need this. There is a void for life-saving devices for babies. There are infant, which is older, toddler, little jackets that'll keep them up. But babies don't go into anything. And we feel uncomfortable that our recommendation is do not take a baby on a boat. And the American Academy of Pediatrics is horrified that parents fly with babies on their laps, but what are you going to do? What do you do to keep your child safe? So the Coast Guard was very animated, and we went down there several times. And with blackboards and chalk, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. And we just jumped in with both feet. Pete was the real creative person, and I, working as a recruiter, provided the money.
Was Pete an inventor? Had he invented other things?
He had invented other things.
Okay.
At one point, he had a little business where he was a pharmacist by training. He had developed dosages of tetracycline and others for fish tanks. And he was doing well until he got to the point where he needed to have the money to become a pharmaceutical company. He abandoned that. And the delay system for a car, if you remember, the very first anti-theft system was you had 30 seconds after you opened the door to a car to get your key.
Yes.
That delay circuit board, Pete had a patent on.
Huh.
And of course, he got no money from it. He was brilliant, but that was it. So at any rate, so Peter is working on this, and now we're fast forwarding into the late 90s, and we've got a patent on it because no one is patenting it, and we can see the value. What we have, though, is not a car seat that floats. What we have is a life-saving device that floats, keeps a baby high on the water to avoid hypothermia or to ward it off.
Right.
That is also a car seat and functions just like one.
Oh, it can be used as a car seat as well?
It is a car seat. For
Okay.
all practical purposes,
All right.
you take it, you put it in the car, you take it out. But it has the features that it will float and automatically flip over in under 2 seconds in the water. So if it flips over, it flips right back in under 2
In
seconds.
calm water or turbulent water?
It was tested, and the Coast Guard has set up testing for both.
Right.
So also ocean.
So you've been at this then for over 15 years.
Well, sadly, what happened was Peter passed away. When Peter passed away, a lot of that energy, because I had two teenagers at home as a single parent. So I was running to school plays, making money as a recruiter,
Right.
and paying Pete's expenses. And then when he passed away, there was just no way I could do this. I did come back at it, and in 2008, a Wall Street firm was absolutely at term sheet status, ready to do the deal, and they kept delaying. And sure enough, they folded.
Yeah.
They folded, and the interesting thing is that the senior partner had dropped his baby into the water when getting on a boat.
Really?
He said, I took it home and I showed my wife and she started punching me. I said, what do you mean? He said, my wife never hit me. She started hitting me. Do you remember when you dropped the baby in the water? He said, so I guess I've got to do this. But then they went completely out of business. So I had to put it aside. I had two teens. My daughter is now out of graduate school. Last September, I took this on full bore. And I've put everything into it, and the three patents are up to date.
But even so, in the intervening years, since you had been talking to so many people and trying to get input and so on, you would think somebody would have seen the same need and opportunity and picked up on it before you filed for the patent, even after you filed for the patent, because as you know, you turn it a little bit and all of a sudden you've got a new invention.
Peter was great at doing that. Peter went to the meetings, he followed up. You've got to go out and press the flesh. You've got to go out and meet those VCs, attend the meetings. Peter was doing that while I was raising the kids and making money. And again, Pete was in New York, where there was a large population of investors, and I was here in Philadelphia. So no, when Pete passed, it came to a crashing halt. And I then had to find a way to take over that job.
Was it fully developed at that point when Pete passed away?
Absolutely.
So
fully developed. The three patents are solid.
Did you have a prototype?
And we have a fourth. We have a prototype that's been tested at UL, and there's video of it that you could see on YouTube. So
There is a video on YouTube.
yes, there is.
Why don't we take a look at the video, at least a segment of the video on YouTube that shows someone demonstrating the baby seat, and as you said before, it always rights itself
Right.
in a matter of seconds.
That's
Let's
the
take a look.
baby's father.
Let's take a
Yeah.
look at that for about 30 seconds.
My dad and Uncle Peter co-invented the baby life seat with advice and assistance from the United States Coast Guard. They tested it at Underwriters Laboratories, and you are now looking at the final video of that testing. Not only is the baby life seat a child restraint system for use in automobiles, but for the first time, the prototype has passed all tests for certification as a life-saving aid for babies, or PFD. So, just like every adult would have a life jacket, the baby life seat would be the best constructed life seat that is also your baby's life jacket for airplane and watercraft travel.
When you made the decision to really commit yourself to promoting and getting funding for Baby Seat, what was the impetus for that?
My daughter, who still lives with me, finishing graduate school. She just now graduated, but
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Get that one behind you.
We go through every exam and every term paper with them, don't we? But she did a brilliant job of it, and I'm very proud of my two children, and you know, I love them to pieces, and that was what was tearing me apart was the time it would take to both do executive search and the baby life seat and two kids who wanted their dad to drive them places and such. So so I said, this is the time. This is it. So I put all of the money I had left, as you can imagine, in for a penny, in for a pound. Maxed out credit cards, second mortgages, IRA is in there, pension is in there. I am in it beyond skin. I'm right down to the bone. I love the response from people who see it. I love the idea that this is going to help address the issue of children drowning, which the World Health Organization just a short while ago has declared, among other things, injuries to children, which includes drowning, to be at epidemic levels. Tsunamis, floods in the Philippines, these babies are at high risk.
No question there's a need, and obviously there is a market. But where is the market? What I mean is, what's the price point for...
Right where the other car seats are.
Which is not inexpensive. I was amazed at how much a good car seat costs these days.
My niece had a baby. She spent $700 on the carriage.
Unbelievable.
The carriage.
Yeah.
Then the blankets, then the bouncy thing. The kid.
But
so
what does a car seat go for? A good car seat?
A good car seat, about $250.
$250. And
we're right in that range. We're right in that range. In fact, the past. It's funny when you mention what it costs. On our board is the former president of Britax Infant Products. Britax has, I believe, the best safety record of all infant car seats. And Tom Beloga is just retired as head of safety and engineering for BMW, which he did after Britax. But for those 7 years, they never, ever had a single lawsuit for any product liability. When he came to my office to look at the baby life seat, he kept staring at it and saying, I can't believe we didn't do this.
Yes.
I can't believe we didn't, I developed other car seats. You know, he was just astounded.
Yes.
And then leaned over and said, I've never told anybody. And we started sharing secrets, and it was just a great meeting with a brilliant, accomplished man. So that energizes you.
What's been the biggest challenge since you have thrown yourself into this now?
The biggest challenge is that first I'm one person alone, and it's been very hard. Anyone helping me has been doing so out of the goodness of their heart and because they believe in this. They believe in the need for babies to be safe and that there's nothing for them. So it's been very difficult from that perspective. And the other perspective is, I don't want to say this in a negative way, but I'm talking to men. Women get it. For women,
Yes.
safety is here.
Right.
For
Yep.
men,
Yep.
it's here. Women think about safety on a far more regular basis, and they're also given a child to care for. It's a tremendous responsibility they learn to shoulder from their youth. I said to my daughter, would you read this and see if there's anything I've left out? She sat down and started typing away. I said, what are you typing? She says, oh, different products you haven't put in it. I said, how do you know? You don't have any kids. She said, Dad, I watch 16 and Pregnant on TV. I don't know any men who watch 16 and Pregnant on TV, but young girls do.
Well, I understand what you're saying about being lonely, and you seem to have solved that problem because you've surrounded yourself with some people with very impressive credentials who represent some of the skills you or anyone in your position needs to successfully launch a company. So you've got the buoyancy, no pun intended, you've got the buoyancy of a good group of advisors. You've been making presentations to angel groups and some VCs.
Yes.
For in the area of
3 months.
3 months, but how much are you trying to raise now?
Trying to raise $5 million in several stages, with $1 million immediately needed to get us to market ready.
But the product is now fully developed, right? It's ready for
The prototype
production.
is ready.
Right.
No, it's not. No.
Oh.
No. It needs that last stage. The Coast Guard and National Highway Traffic and Safety people and the FAA want to know a great many engineering, hazard testing, risk assessment valuations. That has to get done, and it takes engineers sitting for countless hours
Yes,
putting together all the data that they would need
yes.
so that they know, even though it works, that they can check all the boxes.
You could go to market without that certification,
I
couldn't
could.
you?
We could.
But
we could.
with that certification, the value proposition is considerably greater from a marketing standpoint.
I don't look at it that way. I look at it more intensely than that. It's not the value from a marketing perspective. It's the fact
the
that when
integrity
you
of
put
the
a
product.
baby in that seat,
Yes.
you know it has been scrutinized beyond belief, and that it's got a GPS locator in it, and if someone steals your car and the baby seat's in the back, you could take your iPhone and find that seat. Why not? That should be.
So can we,
I know I worried. I'm the guy who followed the school bus when my kids got on. I was convinced he was going to get off the bus and get lost. So
up to what age is this seat?
most likely about 2 years of age, year and a half to 2 years of age. And again, this is only the first product. Once we're funded, we will be developing other products. I feel there's a great need for the elderly. I feel there's a great need to develop something that's far less expensive for children in underdeveloped countries.
Yes.
But that's a whole other thing when we're out there and we could use the profits of the company to develop
A
these
great
other
need
products.
for the elderly.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Older people, would like to be in the water for therapy. It would requires an
I see.
attendant for every single person, and there's a lot of fear. And there is a way, if someone would focus on it, to develop products that, it's not as simplistic as a swimmy or something, but there's a way to develop products that can be there to
Tom,
safeguard them.
There's got to be something better than that life jacket my wife and I had to put on on ship.
Yeah.
Bulky.
Bulky, thick.
It could give you whiplash because the way the collar's up.
Yeah.
To figure out where to buckle it and the whistle, and it was nobody liked it, and everybody really looked uncomfortable. And I thought to myself, if you're in the water with this thing for some period of time, if the water doesn't kill you, the jacket will.
The thing is, you know, when I talk to investors, I say to them, this is an empty space. People pray for a product where there are no competitors, where it's required by law, and where there was an immediate, you know, attraction, consumer appeal.
Yeah.
So it's only 3 months now, but my hope is that the funding is near and we can begin to build these products.
You've been getting an enthusiastic response from what I know. At our last meeting, you had some people coming up. You didn't present, and you had some people coming up to you and asking for information. You had one of the attendees who actually wrote a check.
That's correct.
Invested in the product.
Yes.
You recently came back from New York, where apparently you were at an angel investor group where you had some enthusiastic response as well.
Yes.
All of that must make you feel very good and even more confident that the timing is right now.
Yes.
And timing,
I think
timing
safety is
everything.
right at the top of everyone's list.
Yeah, but there's always the issue of cost. As I said, I was astonished at how much baby seats cost, and obviously what parents are willing to pay for the safety, security of their children. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Well, what have you learned? What's the biggest lesson you've learned now that you've reactivated and now you're carrying the full load? You don't have a partner with whom you can commiserate and support one another emotionally, psychologically.
That's a great question. I don't know that I'm all that prepared for it, but let me offer that when you're given a gift like this, it goes right to your core.
The gift of an idea?
The gift of a product like this, where you could see it having such benefit around the world. Babies around the world. There's 134 million new babies born every year globally. When you see a new product and it's in your hands, the passion is, it shocked me. It shocked me. I could not believe. It was like the very first time I looked at my son, laying on the changing table. I looked at him, and there was a flood of emotion I've never felt. It was a single guy from Manhattan.
Yeah.
Now married, looking at his first child, and from a world of just me, all of a sudden this love just flowed. And it's
Tom,
a never-ending source.
Tom, you're Italian. You're Italian. You cry.
Right. Yeah, yes, yes, yes.
I understand.
Yes.
Okay, so the biggest lesson learned has been?
The biggest lesson I've learned is how much passion and commitment I think anyone really has in them that they can draw on when the cause is great enough. And I always thought that was someone on TV, the heroes that we see racing into a burning house. And when I look at the baby life seat, I realize that's me. I am willing to pay anything, do anything, and go as far as I can to see to it that this gets built.
And with all of your other accomplishments, this is the reason God put you here?
Well, the Jesuits have that philosophy. And the philosophy of the Jesuits is ad majorem Dei gloriam, AMDG, which means to the greater glory of God. In other words, God gives us gifts. When we use those gifts, it's really saying thank you to Him. So when you see a football player catching an impossible pass, he points up. The soccer players point up. It's not just to say number one, it's to say thank you. Thank you, God. And I feel that way. I feel that this is something that's been entrusted to me.
Tom, you're older than most of the people who come through the Entrepreneurs Network, most of the people who sit in that chair. Early stage entrepreneurs. Has anybody said to you, Tom, what are you doing? Tom, this is the stage of your life where you're supposed to relax, take it easy, enjoy whatever you've been able to put away.
I am relaxing. Well,
Think about your financial security so you don't outlive your resources. Tom, what are you doing?
yeah, I'm putting in an average 60 hours, sometimes more
Yeah.
a week. And I think that's all part of the gift that I've been given the physical stamina where it's just, I don't think anything of it. I'm just going nonstop. And I get home and it's 10 o'clock at night and I don't go to sleep anymore, I pass out. So, but it's Saturdays, Sundays, it's all the time. It's just, it's great. It's great. It's great.
What lessons have you learned? What advice might you pass on to other entrepreneurs, particularly older entrepreneurs? I have a special interest in the 50-plus market, have for a very long time, partly because I invested in it at this website we had 13 years ago. But I have been concerned about older people who believe that with a little luck, and it takes more than a little,
Right.
with a little luck, they might be able to take all of the experience they've accumulated, put a little money into an investment, and create a business for themselves, their kids, their families, and so on. And most of the time, they don't know what they're doing.
Correct.
That is not the case in your case. But what advice would you have for older folks who think they might be entrepreneurially inclined?
The best advice I could give them is read all of the jokes that come across on the internet about people who are sitting back, waiting for someone else to do something for them. And we think it's so funny, and they always get nowhere, or they get shafted, or they lose something, whatever. If you're putting in part-time, if you're putting in some money, if you're putting in a little bit, you just don't believe it enough. If you really want to make a change in your life and you want to do something, you have to do it. I had Pete carrying the ball, and I was working and raising my kids. That period of time between Pete passing away and this past September, I had to grow. I had to learn I couldn't get someone else to do it. I couldn't say to someone, here, I'll give you a piece of the business, go ahead and do it. Here, I'll give you a couple of dollars. Hey, you want some stock in the company? It's not gonna work, ever, ever. It's got to take your own commitment and passion, and it has to be 100%. You can't say, oh, I'm gonna do this 4 hours a day, and then I'll go home and I'll read my newspaper and I'll go bowling at night, and I'll do everything else. It won't work. If you're gonna be committed, then do it.
But what's the role of luck in success? I mean, you've got to be a little lucky, at least a little lucky, to make all the hard work, the commitment, the passion, and so on to pay off. Because we both know a lot of people who have put in time, effort, a lot of money, and it still didn't work, at least not this round. Maybe the next time they'll be successful. But your horizons, like mine, are not as long as some younger people. So this one has to work.
Well, it will work no matter what. The baby life seat is coming no matter what. It's a juggernaut. It's moving forward. I happen to be leading it, but that'll only be a short time.
It's a good attitude.
The people that have come to me have come to me. You could call it luck, but they've been attracted to the energy.
Yeah.
And when I get the woman who's going to be the CEO, and the woman who's going to be the global marketing director, and the people who are going to be smarter than me and sharper than me to lead this, then we'll be past the point of luck.
Well,
we'll be into talent.
You're in the search business, so go find those persons.
I am doing my best. I'm doing my best.
You're a force, Tom. You're
Thank
a
you
force.
so much.
Thank you very much.
I
Good luck.
appreciate very much your having me here.
My pleasure. Until next time, this is the Entrepreneurs Network. I am Rick Anthony. Take very good care of yourselves and think about the safety of your kids.